What's going on, everybody? We are the Cinefanatics, and we are here to do a review breakdown for Loki Episode 3. Joining us, as she has been doing the past 2 weeks, we've got Miss Kelsey Kirkland from the two-time award-winning Schmodown After Show of the Year podcast Call to Action.
You'll get it.
There's a lot of words in there. Couldn't y'all just call yourself something like Larry? Like the two-time award-winning podcast Larry. Like, just couldn't shorten it, right?
Right? And then here you are saying 2 times award-winning, and I only have one on the wall because they never sent us another one. It's kind of a bummer.
Or someone else has the second one. Or
mm-hmm.
did they actually send that out to like everyone who was like a member of Call to Action? Everyone got one of those?
We didn't get one for this last one at all. Nobody did. At least no one on Call to Action did. This one, they sent us one, but I took a picture of it and made a replica of it, so that's why I have it.
Oh, that's cool.
By the way, guys, my name is Chris Adams, and that's Robert Adams.
Yeah. Anyways, getting this off started here. Yes, me and my brother are the Cinefanatics. Kelsey is a Cinefanatic, Loki fanatic.
Loki fanatic.
So we're going to dive into this third episode here in a second. If you are joining us live, thank you for being here. Sound off in the chat. Let us know you're here. You have any questions for us, like thoughts, feelings, opinions, views, Easter eggs, anything about this episode of Loki, which, by the way, we will be spoiling. There's a lot of sitting around and talking. There you go. I've spoiled the episode. So if you didn't know they were sitting around and talking, that's what they were doing. Anything y'all want to say, drop that into the chat. There's also the streamlabs.com/cinefanatics/tip. Questions, comments, everything is good to go there. We also do accept the YouTube super chat. So anything you want to say. Also, patreon.com/cinefanatics. Hop on the tier that is good for you. I believe we have, real quick, coming up, what do we have Patreon-wise? We have Monday, we're doing our movie trivia hangout. So if you're at the Maverick tier or higher, you get to join us for that. This Tuesday night or Tuesday afternoon, my brother over here has a match on the First Class League over on the twitch.tv/the Schmodown. So make sure you go check that out. That means the following Thursday, maybe, because he's getting a second COVID shot. The following Thursday, we will be doing the FCL replay. If you are at the Dude tier, this is new. If you're at the Dude tier, which is the $5, not $10, you can join us. We'll be replaying that, getting his thoughts, feelings, opinions, what was going through his mind during that match. It's a lot of fun to do, though, so come back for that. Anyways, otherwise, that's it for stuff we need to catch up on real quick. So we did a spoiler warning. Everyone's welcome here. Not really anything. Did y'all feel like there was anything like in hindsight from last week's episode that we need to address?
Nothing that I don't think directly relates to stuff we'll probably talk about later on, like some reveals and things. So I think we're good. I'm good.
Chris?
Yeah. Yep. I'm solid.
Cool. So, quick review of this episode. What exactly happened? At the end of last episode, we saw Lady Loki, as we're calling her, disappear through one of those time portals, and Loki just happened to jump in there at the last second, just as Mobius was chasing after him, trying to tell him to stop. They ended up reappearing on this weird, like, purple world that's, like, in the process of... Or no, they ended up at the TVA. Sorry. At the TVA, they get attacked by Renslayer and a bunch of Minutemen, and then they time jump out of there, and then they wind up at this purple planet-looking thing. It's a moon, but it's in the process of colliding with a planet, one of these apocalyptic events that Lady Loki just loves to go to. And then we get them sitting around talking, hashing it out with a little bit of fighting in there. At one point, they get on a train. They're trying to get out of this area before this moon collides with this planet. And they have a couple of really good conversations. Episode ends with them jumping onto the ship that's like escaping, called the Ark. And yeah.
No,
that's
the episode ends with them trying to get to the ship that's escaping, but then the ship gets wrecked. So they don't escape.
Yeah, so that's what happened in this episode. Again, this is a very like talking heavy episode. So that being said, What would y'all say is your favorite moments, takeaways from this episode? Kelsey, if you'd like to start.
Okay. Well, my personal favorite moment, like the actual moment, is when they are talking on the train. There is a conversation about love, and I wrote down the quote Loki later says what he interprets love as a dagger. I love that thing. But having him confirmed as a bisexual character in the MCU is very awesome. It's great representation. As a bisexual woman, I'm super excited about it. But also it was a very touching conversation because in that same conversation, he's talking about his mom and how they grew up. And it hit me in the feels a lot. So that was my favorite scene kind of thing. But also another is probably my favorite comedic moment in the entire episode. It was Asgardian, I'll do it.
Yeah. That's actually probably one of the funniest moments of the entire series so far. Like, other than him, like, trying to chase down Miss Minutes off the desk or whatever, that was pretty funny. Just a nice callback to Thor with the coffee, throwing the cup down. Another. Chris, what did you like about this episode?
I liked the moment that Kelsey brought up. I also liked, honestly, if you like go on Twitter and you see what I tweeted while I was watching it, it was, the show is insane. And then like towards the end of the show, I was like, this show is insane. And at the very end, I was like, the show is absolutely friggin' bonkers insane. There's just like moments like right at the beginning, as soon as I like hit this moon, and then like that whole like final scene, I'm sure we'll probably talk about it again, but the whole thing was like, it was like the Daredevil one take hallway scene, like to the nth degree, with Sylvie and Loki and the Minutemen, or they weren't even the Minutemen actually. It was the
guards at the Ark.
Yeah, the Ark guards. That whole thing just played out incredibly, and then for it to just finally end with them watching the Ark just get completely wrecked, and Loki's like, "Well, crap."
Except he probably said other words that we typically don't say on this channel. That would be more appropriate. Oh, crap.
It goes without saying.
Yeah, definitely. I have to, like, I will agree with Kelsey. Probably my favorite moment was that callback to the first Thor with Loki calling for another. Although I'll go, Loki's being drunk was pretty funny. Yeah. I very much appreciated that he basically got drunk and then started singing like Asgardian like drinking songs or whatever. Yeah. Like that was kind of funny. That was kind of cool. A nice, like, I guess, throwback to like Norse mythology, where like we've seen it like in Thor stuff, especially with was it Volstad, who is quick to end a battle and then quickly get to a gigantic table full of a plethora of edibles and not edibles. Edibles sounds like everything's laced with weed. Food and drink. Although Volstad probably likes a good pot brownie, I'm just saying.
Is there weed on
Who knows?
Asgard? That's not the question I want to know.
I feel very strongly that brownie probably would not affect him at all.
No, he needs probably like a whole tray, the whole pan. Just eat the whole pan as it comes out of the oven. That's what he needs. And then he's just getting a slight buzz, like it's not enough. Nice. Yeah. Oh, look. Oh, okay. Anyways, moving on. But yeah, like seeing Loki get drunk, that was pretty funny. The interaction. Here's the thing: like episodes or shows, movies, when you have something like this, I believe we had it in Fat Wuss. I believe we had it in WandaVision as well. There's just episodes where everyone just sits down and talks.
Yeah.
Which is, for me, I feel like that's a big, like honest human thing. How many times have you gotten into a scuffle, a fight, an argument, and if you just stopped and realized, like, let's just sit down and talk? Like, that's all we got to do. Like, even watching movies, you watch, like, these Fast and the Furious movies, by the way, Fast 9 review coming up this weekend on this channel. And probably all the other movie channels as well. But anyways, you watch them have these fights, and you as a viewer, you're like, if y'all would just like shut the F up and sit down and talk, you could hash all this out. All you needed to do was just say something. Look at the Batman versus Superman. All they had to say was Martha, and that ended the fight. Why didn't you say Martha a long time ago? So I like this because the word, at some point, you do need to sit down and actually exchange words and dialogue and communicate. Mm-hmm. And that in itself is what's going to push the story, everything forward. So, while it's kind of boring, we're wanting to see Loki mess some things up and trick people or whatnot. Having an episode where you sit down and really just hash some things out for a bit is pretty good. Especially because we're in the first half of this series, so.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And we've already seen like how it's played out well so far for this show. I mean, the whole conversation between Loki and Mobius in that first episode, they're utilizing conversation to do some great character development in Loki in this. And this episode is no exception. A lot in part also like what Kelsey mentioned earlier, that whole conversation about love and them revealing that Loki is bisexual. And then on top of that, just the whole, just everything about that. You're getting a view inside Loki's mind, which we haven't really had time to dive into in any of the movies before that. So these conversations, while it might be boring to some, you might see some people out there like, get to the action. I want to see the fun stuff. This is also very vital to the world building side of the MCU.
Yeah. And as a person who has a crush on Loki, hearing him talk about love was very nice. Because it's like, he sort of can do it. But it doesn't sound like you're positive about it, but you've tried.
It's a dagger.
It's a dagger.
It's a dagger.
Honestly, in my notes, I wrote down the whole quote, and she gave him, crap about it. I'm like, is he wrong, though?
Yeah, like there's a part of you. There's a part of you watch this, and depending on your own personal perspective on like things, you're like, is it okay to agree with this? Like, do I become cynical if I start believing like what is being said? Because I mean, it kind of makes sense. Like, it's really weird having that connection with it, and then it leaves you like the episode's over, but you're still like, well, crap. What do I do?
I need to self-reflect a little bit now.
Yeah. I do want to shout out real quick, like the people we've got here in the chat. I see Vernon saying that he's ready for mischief managed. We do have Rachel Errolowl is joining us. She wants another beer, and yeah.
I do like this. What Rachel says down here, though. Quite a bit of commentary on the poor getting left behind too. Yeah, you see that as well with. Why do they get to go? Just because they have money, and the people getting left behind in the line.
I heard that, and the very first thing that came to my mind was Titanic. Yeah, because that was exactly like Titanic. Exactly. You got you had Rose's like betrothed. What's his
Billy Zane
dick face guy? Yeah, he was like he's trying to quickly get off the boat.
What's his dick?
What's his dick?
Family chat.
Cal Hockney or whatever. Like you see him like trying to get off the boat, and he like even going so far as to grab a child. Go, I have a child, which the child is poor and like in rags, and he's of course rich in a tux, and that I don't know how anyone thought that was honest, but. It kind of mirrored that a bit. That's what I first thought was like, this is the whole like abandoned ship, abandoned moon, women and children first. Let's get them over here. Let's get them on I think that was for them to get on the train, if I remember correctly, getting on the train to get to the Ark. So
yeah. One thing I'd like to say though too about that is second time watching, I paid close attention to this. Which I think, because it's Disney, I think they did this smart, is they didn't actually, I feel like, show any children on screen during certain things. So, like, everyone's going to die, but then it's, like, less troublesome for young viewers, like my children who are seeing it, didn't see children that are going to blow up, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
They're there, but you just don't see them.
Kids don't need to be facing their own mortality yet. It's okay.
Right? Exactly. So
especially on Disney. Good Lord.
Smart move, Disney.
we don't need to bring the Disney Loki existentialism here this early in their lives. So
that's right. You're young, but you two are susceptible to being shuffled off this mortal coil. Don't worry about it.
Just if anyone ever says women and children get to a boat, just get to the damn boat. Just just hightail it. Yeah. So this episode, it did confirm something. We briefly talked about this last week, in that we got introduced to Lady Loki at the end of the episode last week. She took off the hood, and we're like, "Oh, you're a she." In which case, we had already suspected. I know, I brought it up on the very first episode. Like, I could have sworn like the hooded figure had like a feminine type of movement. Please don't make me elaborate on what that means. But I mean,
she had a feminine vibe.
I could have sworn that that's what I felt. And then of course we got that confirmed. Everyone's been for the past weeks been calling her Lady Loki, except for people who either are really good at Googling, or like say Kelsey down here, who decided to watch the international credits at the end of the episode. Yeah, and saw that they actually credited the actress as Sylvie and not Lady Loki. I can't remember, like, what was she actually credited as anything in the English ones, or was it just her name?
Variant. It was the variant.
The variant. Okay, that's right. Yeah. So they actually did call her Sylvie in the international credits last week. We got that confirmed this week. So Sylvie, according to this, is supposed to be a variant of Loki. So essentially, it's supposed to be Sylvie, was it Laufey daughter, is how the naming convention works on that.
Yep.
In the comics, Sylvie is a human character that lives in Oklahoma. When Asgard gets destroyed, I guess by Ragnarok, they move Asgard to flying over Oklahoma. I don't know why you couldn't pick a better state, but whatever. It's okay. I was in the military station in Oklahoma. I have a right to disparage that state if I want. Goodbye, Oklahoma viewers. Glad y'all were watching.
All half of you.
all 2.5 of you. Yeah. So Sylvie was a human Earth girl in Oklahoma. She was given powers by Loki, and then she chose to become like a version of the Enchantress, is like the nutshell, like not putting on my glasses version.
Yeah, it's she believes that that's what happened. There's a story thing where it actually Loki just created her and gave her those memories of her being human. So it kind of just depends on where in the comics it is, but yeah, that's the gist of it.
Yeah. So we got that confirmed, because she absolutely did not want to be called Loki in this episode. She's like, just call me Sylvie. Which I guess I would rather be called Loki. Sylvie is just...
You might, yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't want to be referred to as Sylvie. So that's just
for the rest of this stream, I will be calling you Sylvie.
Okay. That's, I guess, great. Fine, whatever.
Sure is, Sylvie.
Anyone who's gonna catch this like later on is like, are they talking about the Lady Loki character? Like, is that like Kelsey's nickname now, or Kelsey and Sylvie? That sounds like a sitcom show.
Kelsey and Sylvie. Yeah, sign me up, MCU. Let's get that to be the sequel series to Loki.
It's like a hybrid of Loki and WandaVision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got Loki and Sylvie wound up on this planet, this moon, Lamentis, which it is in the comics. It takes place during the Annihilation Conquest storyline, but it really isn't anything. This is more of like, hey, we found like something that was in the comics. Let's just stick it in one of our shows just because it has a connection to the comic, but there's no real anything, as far as I know, that happens there to draw that conclusion. It's just a name drop of something from the comic books. So, do y'all have any other thoughts on any of that I just said before we move on to probably what I feel like is going to be the main topic of this?
Yeah, my only thing I'd say is just I think it was a very creative way they handled that character because, like I said, like, Sylvie's not Loki in the comics. Loki's a total to combine like a character that was created by Loki with a variant of Loki to make this new, fresh take on a character for the MCU, I think was smart. I think it's worked well so far. I'm interested to find out more of her backstory, and how she came to be. But interesting move, MCU.
It's interesting because here we have an example again of like someone within the Thor universe that they're kind of like taking the character of Enchantress, who we've known in the comics as Enchantress, and kind of splitting them between two different characters. We have a little bit here in Sylvie, and we obviously had a little bit with Hela during Ragnarok, especially because Hela was the one that had Scourge. She's the one that recruited Scourge to kind of hang out with her the whole way through. So it's an interesting thing for me that they kind of took one of these like, what I would say is one of like a bigger like Thor villain and actually just kind of splitting them into multiple characters is kind of an interesting way to go about this.
Yeah. I will say I did like Loki doing that shape shifting briefly for the old woman in the cabin, and recognizing that like her husband died, so he poses as her husband, and then she immediately like throws him out. Like he's never said anything nice to me in 30 years. Like
that's marriage.
So funny. Yeah. Which the thing is while that was fun for Loki, I like how that led into getting more personal with Loki. Of course, we knew he had a connection with his mother, Frigga. We know that like a lot of his mischievous powers come from Frigga, who was like originally like a Norse witch of some sort. So yeah, a lot of what she did that's what came into Loki, or ish. That's how he was raised. The big thing with this one that everyone is talking about, so we'll be really brief because you can find it everywhere else and we don't need to talk about. No, we're going to talk about it. Is the Loki being bisexual. I like the nod to this because it was nonchalant. It wasn't like in your face. It was a very natural thing. In fact, if you weren't actively looking for that, if you weren't sitting there like, come on, I need to see some kind of like LGBTQ representation in everything I watch. If you're not exclusively looking for it, this was a line of dialogue that could have just went so natural. It could have been just something you just didn't realize. Well,
yeah, and one thing I'd like to comment though, like I said, I'm a bisexual as well. That is a very honest way of how people kind of tell people they are.
Yeah.
Because it's a very awkward conversation when they're like, hey, why don't you have or you can find a boyfriend, Kelsey. And they're like, or a girlfriend, or like that. So like you don't always just go into like a big spiel. Well, actually, I am, and it's subtle like that. You just kind of
let me read the scroll to you of bisexuality, right? And I will tell you exactly what.
Like how that conversation went. Yeah, that's how those conversations go. They handled it very well and in a way that makes sense for those characters. And brava, Disney, brava.
So the thing I liked about that in relation is throughout, like seeing Disney trying to hit you've seen Disney, especially within the MCU, trying to hit various things. Some of them is nice and natural. This was like perfectly natural, and I love the way it was handled. Some of them, you've definitely seen questions. Like, say, for example, Endgame, where you've got like all the women all of a sudden in this field all gathered together. It's not likely to happen. I mean, let's be honest. It's cool that they did that. It's a fantastic shot. I love seeing that, but in real life, that's not what would happen on the battlefield.
Come on, Robert. Don't you know we all have this like telepathy thing? Like, okay, we all need to gather right now.
All women gather here.
All women gather.
Oh, that's what it means to be in sync. Got it.
Exactly. Now, clear that up.
So, like that you can tell. You're like, that you can tell. I'm glad you just left it at that too. I'm turning nice and red now. Like that you could tell they're like, hey, we would like to show this representation, but it wasn't in a nice, natural way. Like this was nice and natural. I love the way that this was done. what I'm curious and what I'll admit, I've actually seen this like across Twitter and the internet today. And I kind of agree with it. It's a nice little nod. It's a nice little drop. Now, the challenge for Disney, what do you do from here? How do you expand on the ability to show that, like, here in the real world, we have LGBTQ people like everywhere. It is a natural part of our normal lives. We don't necessarily see it fully like the real world represented in what we watch still. It's still like a very small percentage. And I'm not saying that we need to like force like all of this in there. Again, let's not make it unnatural, but how are you going to expand upon this and show like real life representation in this? And I'm eager to see if we're going to get any more. Probably not too much more, I would suspect, out of this show, but in general, going forth, like in a lot of their other properties, if this is going to expand outside of their Marvel properties. I know we've seen a bit in Star Wars, but what else could they do going forward? Are we going to see a lot more?
Yeah, like, I know they only have 3 episodes left to tell the story, but if they could, like, squeeze in an appearance of Theo, even if it's just a little bit, that would make me happy. Theo is one of Loki's past relationships. And he's
thank you for clarifying, because my first thought was Malcolm Jamal Warner from the Cosby Show. Like, gosh, Theo?
There's this young adult book, it's called Loki... Master of Mischief, or I can't remember the name of it, but it's a young adult book. It is by Marvel. Like, it's a Marvel acknowledged property. And in it, Loki kind of has 2 relationships going on, one with Amora, Enchantress, and one with Theo. And it takes place in like the 1800s England. And so, like, heck, if Loki ends up in like 1800s England, Theo, I want to see Theo. I won't probably, but I'd like to see Theo.
I mean, I can still see them like kind of making like some kind of nod or something.
A nod would be nice, because
there's definitely not enough time within 3 episodes to like flesh out a relationship of some sort with Loki, unless they're trying to do it with Sylvie, which don't. I'm not into that.
I mean, we still don't know who Richard E. Grant is playing, so.
Yeah.
Would Richard E. Grant be Loki's type? Who knows? I still agree with like what Kelsey has said, that I believe he's going to end up being like some kind of like a future older Loki variant, because I mean he just looks like it. I mean he
looks like King Loki to me. Like, if I had to, not knowing anything, say Kelsey cast King Loki, he would make my top 5 list probably just out of nowhere.
Yeah,
it would be a good.
Going back to Sylvie real quick, I know I wanted to mention this earlier while we were talking about her, but I love the crown that she wears, especially because like essentially her character in the comics is also missing that horn. So she has one of the horns broken off. Mm-hmm. And on top of that like towards the end when they're fighting like those guards at the Ark, she actually takes the crown off and starts whooping people with it. I think, was that the guards or was that at the bar? I can't remember. I think it was at the bar actually on the train.
Yeah, I think it was on the train. Yeah. I love that. So GameStop just released a 2 set of metal horns. One is the Loki one from like the President Loki thing they showed in the trailer, and one is hers, and it's a set. I ordered it, and I'm so excited because her crown is her horn. Oh, it's awesome.
You're gonna get to the point where the post office is gonna get Loki items like delivered to it, and they're not even gonna bother looking at the address. Let's just send this to Kelsey Kirkland. Just deliver it to her place, and it belongs to her.
I'm sure if they see a Hot Topic package, they just automatically know, because that's like where I buy 90% of my stuff.
The question is, Kelsey, what does Halloween look like this year? Is it a Sylvie outfit?
Oh yeah,
I think so. Yeah, I'm thinking so. I'll be blonde again by then, so.
This definitely has the ability to, like, especially if they do something really phenomenal with her character in the last 3 episodes, that could easily be the hot Halloween costume this year. Especially because this year we're actually probably looking at people being able to go back out and go trick-or-treating and costume parties, and like I don't know, like the adult like Halloween costume of like the sexy Sylvie costume that's probably going to happen. That might be kind of cool.
Sylvie and Scarlet Witch, those are going to be the
yeah.
I was gonna say on
of them.
on the guy side, you're gonna see a bunch of Captain America, some Winter Soldiers.
Yeah.
Maybe not U.S. Agent.
Maybe a few President Lokis. That's an easy costume because you just have to get suit.
That could be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Halloween. Yes, Halloween. Favorite holiday.
The only other thing I wanted to point out about this episode is that there was during the conversation with Loki and Sylvie, they were talking about the TVA, and that Sylvie revealed to him that like all the TVA agents are all actual variants themselves, and I guess they don't know it. They don't realize that they're variants.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of throwing that out, because we were led to believe that the timekeepers just selected the agents, but come to find out they're all variants, which is starting to wonder what exactly is Sylvie wanting to do here. Why is this something that's important? And I brought that up because I know we asked probably back in the first episode, where did all these TVA agents come from? Who are these people and why do they matter? Well, we kind of got a little hint of an answer. Little did I know that might have actually been the point of this entire series when I asked that back in the first episode of our breakdown. So, thoughts?
Yeah, I kind of thought maybe that could be it, just because, like, in the comics, they're all clones of the same person. So, like, I was wondering, like, okay, that's not clearly not what they're doing this time. So, what is the big reveal? Because, I mean, if you're gonna make a bunch of people to do mindless jobs for you, I don't think you take the time to creatively make individual personalities and things. Personally, so I figured they had to be from somewhere. And so this makes sense, and probably you're really right, is one of the reasons why she's doing what she's doing, because if they don't remember, if it's maybe one thing if they knew they were variants, and they're like, hey, you could be like erased, or here's a job opportunity, that's one thing. But if they don't know that they are, that means something shady's happening. So I'm interested to find out like why and what happened.
Yeah, it definitely strikes me more of a they don't know, because all the lore that we're getting right now on what the timekeepers did in terms of reorganizing all the timelines into the sacred timeline, just to avoid there being like wars and infighting between all the various timelines and all that. It sounds to me like their whole thing is going to be more about, hey, let's try to keep everybody, not knowing about alternate timeline stuff, and we're all just focused on this one. So yeah, kind of shady. I
just thought of something I want to bring up. Okay, so how her enchanting works is she goes into someone's memories to be able to get in there, right? Well, C20's memories were pretty modern, right? They're sitting drinking margaritas like that. However, Sylvie says memories from hundreds of years before she even, before even now. So that means modern times aren't necessarily modern times, they're past times. So like, when they talk about the big war of the multiverse, is that a past war of the multiverse, or is that a war to come in the multiverse? Because time is different.
It's true.
I mean, possibly. We don't know how the direction of the MCU now, post Thanos. We don't know how that's going to go, and we definitely have multiple hints towards multiverse action going forward. So go ahead.
Yeah, the thing that interests me here is I talked before about, like, I don't know who to trust in this show yet. Right now, I'm starting to get a feeling that I can actually trust both Loki and Sylvie. It's odd that I feel like this early I can trust Sylvie, but I think they did a lot of good groundwork by making these two characters relatable to each other and have those, like, nice talks. So that now we're being positioned to think that, okay, something's wrong with the TVA, which leads me to believe that something's up with the timekeepers. Who were they, and who are they to decide, that there should be only one timeline? I get the general notion that we want to stop wars and stuff from happening and all that, but the only people who've told us so far that there were wars are the people who are controlling the timeline to begin with. So can I really trust that wars really happened, or that there's even like terrible things that could happen if there is a multiverse happening? So that's what I'm kind of like, I have a feeling this is going to go to one, we're absolutely going to get the multiverse is not going to get fixed. It's not going to be put back into the regular sacred timeline, but also the timekeepers are going to make an appearance, and they're going to be, they're shady. They're gonna be the villains of this series essentially. Which maybe what's his face that we were talking about earlier? Maybe he's one of the timekeepers.
Richard E. Grant could be.
Richard E. Grant, yeah.
I was like Cal Hockney.
Yeah,
exactly.
Cal Hockney
Yeah.
is
What's his
gonna
name?
be a timekeeper.
Yeah, I mean, possible. Like that would actually make a lot of sense, just because so far all we've seen of the timekeepers are these gigantic, enormous like statues. The cartoon that Miss Minutes was narrating, which, by the way, I'm going to throw this out there. I want to see an animated show of Miss Minutes and Mr. DNA from Jurassic Park. See those two get together. I bet it'd be glorious.
Well, hi there, Mr. DNA. Well, hi there, Miss Minutes. Why do we both have Southern accents? I don't know.
But I completely forgot where I was going with that joke. Oh yeah, so we see the timekeepers are like these big, huge, like godlike beings. Richard E. Grant is not a big, huge, godlike being. He's a small dude. Like, I'm kind of curious if they're gonna do like the whole, like, say, Wizard of Oz switcheroo, where you got this big, ominous, imposing head, and then there's this little guy behind the curtain. Yeah,
I feel like I mentioned that before. This feels like it's going to be like a Wizard of Oz type situation where the timekeepers are not all that they have been pumped out to us to be.
Mhm.
And I know I was thinking about bringing it up last week, and I said I'll probably bring it up this week, depending on how this episode goes. And this episode did not go the direction I was thinking it was going to go, but we briefly talked about, someone in the chat brought it up, and we were talking about how, like, that middle statue seemingly looks like Kang the Conqueror. I wanted to have an image and everything ready to go, but, like, again, since this episode really didn't feed into that theory, I'm not really ready to deep dive into Kang the Conqueror, who we do know is coming. He is going to be in the next Ant-Man and the Wasp movie. And he definitely has something to do with time. He has a connection to Renslayer in this TV show. I fully believe that he will have some kind of a connection to this show by the end of this series, or at least the end of this season, because it sounds like they might actually drag this one into a second season. Which, here's hoping so far. More Loki, the better. I mean, I'm down for that. I'm pretty sure Kelsey down. Yeah. I could almost like
I know,
put money on that one.
Hot take, right? That's the thing that came out of nowhere.
Kelsey wants more Loki. So yeah, that was my thoughts on this. Was there anything else in this episode that, like, really caught y'all's attention, caught your eye?
Plot-wise, no. I just want to say the cinematography in this has been beautiful. Like, all the colors, just the way that thing was, the last scenes were shot. I've been impressed. Marvel as a whole, the MCU as a whole on these shows, you don't feel like you're watching a show for quality-wise. You feel like you're watching a movie. They nailed that, where it's just big and epic and beautiful, and chef's kiss. It's great.
Well, it should be noted too, and you could definitely see the usage that they put into this episode. They're definitely shooting part of this on the volume. The same technology that's used for pretty much all the locations in The Mandalorian, the whole like stagecraft stuff. That's definitely being used on this show. I mean, it's seamless and it just looks so good. It is easily some of like the best like movie making, TV show making technology that has been like produced in the last 20 years. So I think that definitely leads into, you know, how great the cinematography is, what they can do with the environments at a smaller budget than a movie. But at the same time, like I mentioned earlier, that essentially that one shot fighting sequence at the very end would like this getting choked up. This is stuff I really like. I love seeing them like take risks on, you know, how do we not just do like a traditional action scene? How do we apply the intensity of the time and the situation that they're in into like even the camera movements and stuff? So I think that I'll agree with you. They're just doing this whole thing, cinematography, all of it excellently for this show. Plus the music too. The music is another big thing
The soundtrack switch that happened this episode from the other episodes was awesome. It kind of threw me off a second when, like, the Marvel logo comes up and it's like totally different sounding. I'm like, whoa, what's happening? And then that kind of continued throughout the show. I thought that was really interesting choice, and it was good music choices. I love those songs. I was impressed.
Yeah. So yeah, that's gonna be pretty much wrapping our thoughts on this episode. Again, this wasn't an episode that really had stuff to deep dive into. Looking through this, I didn't see anything that was really a massive Easter egg. I think this moon being Lamentus is probably the biggest Easter egg. Aside from Sylvie's thorn or crown having the missing horn on it. Which is straight from the comics. Otherwise, yeah, there really wasn't much in this. It was a good filler episode, but it was a full filler episode. Yeah, it gave you the stuff that I feel like is going to have a lot more meaning from here on out. Again, we're halfway through this whole series now, which I feel like this one, unlike Fat Wuss, for Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I felt like we didn't really get a full scope of what this series was about until probably the fourth, almost fifth episode. This one, I feel like I have a good idea of where we're headed here. I definitely expect some twists and turns because we haven't seen that President Loki shot that's been all over the trailers. So I'm wondering how we're going to get to that shot. Come on, what did you expect? Yeah.
That's my favorite gift to use. Every time people give me crap about Loki, I'm like, come on, what did you expect from me? What did you expect?
Yeah. So I think as far as it goes, as far as using the term filler goes, if this is what filler episodes were in TV shows, then this is what I would like to see as a filler episode in any TV show, because this is a filler episode that is more heavily bent on character development. And yeah, if we call a TV show episode that's character development driven as a filler episode, then sign me up for some filler episodes.
Yeah, I don't mean this I didn't mean the negative connotation of filler. This wasn't hey, let's do a flashback episode where we flash back to previous episodes because we're out of storyline ideas.
Like a 90s sitcom.
Like a 90s sitcom. No, I meant filler as in nothing really happens here except some dialogue and really just putting in the end of the beginning of the exposition of this series. Now it's all going to be downhill from here, I believe. But
pretty much,
yeah, that's what I'm kind of expecting. If it doesn't do that, if it's still creative in its usage of Loki and Sylvie and the storyline that's created so far, so be it. And that'll be awesome if they pull it off. But yeah, I'm expecting a lot more zaniness from Loki and company from here on out. So
the show is insane.
Yeah. Those of y'all in the chat watching live, y'all have any other questions, comments, drop those in real quick as we start wrapping this up. Is there anything else we need to tackle? Yeah. Where is Thor? Well, this is after Endgame, so he's probably on a treadmill. Because I believe he's back in fighting shape in Love and Thunder. So
yeah, well, technically it was it depends. He was in 2012, but how
yeah,
far
I mean,
2000. So honestly, I've lost track. Also, how long was Loki taking classes in the TVA? We don't know.
I would assume at this point, if we could equate whatever happening time wise in the TVA to our present day, or at least present day MCU, which I think we're still a couple years off from. I would say that he was just yoinked out of 2012 and brought to where we're currently at in the MCU.
Oh, but also the Lamentus thing happened in 2077. So
that too.
We're actually
we're all over the place.
We're all over the place.
So who knows where Thor's at? I mean, he's the Hulk Hogan variant. Yeah, definitely.
That's a reference.
Yeah, so Chris Hemsworth's going to play Hulk Hogan in a biopic coming out pretty soon. Yeah. Yeah. So I did like this. Oklahoma, where the Adamses sus comes rolling down the plains. I'm not going to sing the song because I'm not Hugh Jackman.
Oklahoma.
Yeah, you're not Hugh Jackman either. So
none of us.
Yeah. Anyways, I feel like it's gonna do it for the breakdown tonight, y'all. It's been a really interesting episode. It's been very expositional, but like I'm anxious to see where it goes from here. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap this episode up. Kelsey, where can we find you besides below us right now?
You can find me at KelseyKins90 on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me here every week talking about Loki. You can find me on Show Me the Money, talk about Loki every week as well. And on Thursdays, at least this Thursday, it's coming up tomorrow, I'm going to be on Jesse Swift's channel for Flickin' Real talking about, you guessed it, Loki. And then Sunday, I will be on Call to Action. This is my week where I'm going to be on. So I'll be talking about all things Schmodown. We're going to have some cool guests on that we're still trying to dot the I's on a little bit, but it's going to be awesome. And I hope to see you guys there.
I think Lola likes Loki about as much as you now because she's sitting there like rubbing her face on the hot toy.
She's got taste.
Get off the laptop.
Anyways, so hey, Chris, what could you tell them about our channel?
Well, here's the thing. There is all sorts of stuff that we're doing here on this channel. The best way to get linked up to all of it is obviously going to be over there on Patreon. We're doing all sorts of great stuff on there. $1 gets you in on our Discord, where we're building that community out. Best place to go hang out. I don't know what's going on over there.
I'm trying to do Loki horns pointing at it. I mean, yeah.
Exactly. So other things we're doing on Patreon, we got watch-alongs coming up. We're going to have a few watch-alongs going down next month. One of them is actually going to be public on the YouTube channel, but one of them is going to be on Patreon. So you're going to want to link up onto that. I believe it's the due tier. It's that $5 tier. That's the sweet spot tier over on Patreon to get all sorts of stuff like that. You get the FCL breakdowns whenever we have matches. And on top of that, if you want to do the movie trivia nights where you actually help us prepare for those FCL matches, that's at that Maverick tier. So there's all sorts of fun stuff to do over on the Patreon. Come patronize us. Oh, also, Vernon's right. You can find me specifically at Twitch. Well, that's actually the wrong. You can find me at twitch.tv/Chris Adams MLP. Currently going through Pokemon Shield right now. I'm a little late on that game, but yeah, who cares? Come hang out. It's a ton of fun over there on Twitch. I don't know when the next time I'm streaming is because I've got an FCL match to prepare for this next Tuesday, and Tuesdays are usually when I stream right now. So we'll see. Just stay tuned. Just follow that Twitch channel, and you'll know.
Yeah. Let's see. Patreon, $1 gets you on the Discord, watch alongs, movie trivia night. You got it all. Cool.
Yep.
So otherwise, you could join us here on the Cinefanatics YouTube channel. Every Tuesday night, we do the Tagline. It's a show where we talk about movie news and all kinds of fun stuff. It's our flagship show. That's the best way to get to know us personally, is going to be over there on that show. As we laugh, we joke, we have merriment, and we then talk about movies. So that's going to be the Tagline. That's every Tuesday night at 7:30 p.m. Pacific, 10:30 p.m. Eastern. We got other stuff coming out on this channel as time allows. Rankings. I believe we're going to be working on a ranking for the Fast and the Furious movies after we see F9 tomorrow night. So we will be doing a ranking of that. Movie trailers, as we're able to get to them, those will pop up, the trailer reactions. Otherwise, that's it for this channel. Make sure you follow us, the Cinefanatics, on Twitter and Instagram at Cinefanatics MLP. And also, if you're watching this, give us a like. Hit that like button down below. If you're watching us on a replay, make sure you give us a comment. Share this with your friends and family because you like what we produce. You're here watching us. Let everyone you know that you like us. That was weird.
Share us with your parents because we're good for parents.
We are good for parents. Parents love us. I can attest to that. Also, make sure you subscribe. Hit the subscribe button down below. Hit that bell so you know when we're going live if you're not following us on Twitter and Instagram, because it'll tell you over there also when we're going live. But hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell. Anyways, that's going to do it for tonight. Those of y'all in the chat, thank y'all for being here. Thank y'all for watching live. We appreciate y'all being here. We hope you enjoyed this. As for myself, as for my brother, and as for Miss Kelsey Kirkland, we love y'all being here, and we will see y'all again next week. Good night. Bye-bye. Bye.